All the crazy conspiracies about the death of hip-hop icon Tupac Shakur, it seems like none of them involved a 50-year-old cancer patient getting arrested almost 30 years later for being involved in that fateful situation that took out one of the pioneers of hip-hop. And apparently his death had a huge connection to a hip-hop powerhouse in Diddy, who apparently financed the whole thing.
You say you lost your empire because of Puffy. Why you say that?
I did. If I wouldn't have never met him, I would have never been involved in this bull.
But it seems like the Las Vegas PD is finally had enough of Keefe D going on the internet and explaining his involvement in the Tupac murder to multiple news sources, book sources, and just going on a general press release. So they apparently arrested him today in connection with the murder and indicted him, man. We gotta talk about the ongoing situation with Las Vegas native and former LA gangbanger Keefe D, who is getting arrested and charged in the shooting death of Tupac Shakur today. But before we do, I'm gonna need you to do a couple things for me. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna run up this video, man. We on the road to 10K subs, so make sure y'all subscribe and tap into notification gang, so whenever I post, y'all tune in and tap into the merch. Link in the description at SafeWorld.com. Let's get it. Keefe D was far from keeping a low profile. About 8 Vlad TV interviews later, he's finally getting arrested for his involvement in the 1996 shooting that took out Tupac Shakur. It's not exactly that he was hiding, because he wrote a book and gave several statements to law enforcement and basically saying that he was in the car with the person Orlando Anderson, aka Baby Lane, his nephew, who was apparently the real person behind the Tupac shooting. Even with all his knowledge, the police decided to previously raid his house, July of this year, to look for evidence implicating him. And apparently they must have found enough to get him implicated, because he was literally indicted today. A Nevada grand jury indicted Dwayne Keefe D. Davis in the killing. Prosecutors announced in court on Friday. Chief Deputy District Attorney Mark DiGiamo said a grand jury had been seated in the case for several months, and DiGiamo described Davis as an on-the-ground, on-site commander who ordered the death of Shakur. In order to really see Keefe D's role in this incident, though, we must go back 30 years ago to recall how this even happened in the first place, man. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Shakur and his entourage and Keefe D and his nephew Orlando Anderson were involved in a fight inside the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas 3 hours before Shakur's shooting. They were all attending the Bruce Seldon vs. Tyson boxing match, where Marion Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, was also in attendance. After leaving the match, one of Knight's associates, Trayvon Trey Lane, a member of the Mob Pyrus gang based in Compton, California, spotted Orlando Baby Lane Anderson from the rival Southside Compton Crips in the MGM Grand lobby. Earlier that year, in July 1996, Anderson and a group of Southside Crips apparently attempted to rob Lane and chain snatch him at the Foot Locker in Lakewood Center Mall in Lakewood, California. If you don't know, the Lakewood Mall is famous for those type of incidents. Lane told Tupac, who in turn attacked Anderson in the lobby. Shakur asked Anderson if he was from the Southside Crips, punched him in the face, knocked him in the ground, and then Shakur and Knight's entourage basically beat the out of him. The fight, which was captured on MGM Grand's video surveillance, was broken up by hotel security. After the brawl, Shakur returned to his hotel, the Luxor Las Vegas. He disclosed to his girlfriend Kaidita Jones his involvement in the Anderson fight, previously having promised to return to her after entering the MGM Grand and having her stay in a vehicle. Shakur left with Knight in a BMW sedan after changing clothes and went to Club 662, which was owned by Knight, to perform at a charity concert. At 11 to 11:05 p.m., Shakur and Knight were halted on the Las Vegas Boulevard by officers from the LV Metropolitan Police Department Bike Patrol for playing the car stereo too loud and not having license plates. The plates were found in the trunk of Knight's car. The party was released a few minutes later without being cited. At 11:10 p.m. while they were stopped at a red light at the intersection of East Flamingo Road and Caval Lane in front of the Maxim Hotel, a vehicle approached by 2 women pulled up on their side. Shakur, who was talking through the window of his brand new 1996 BMW 750iL, exchanged words with the women and invited them to go to the Club 662. It was at that time at 11:15, a white four-door late model Cadillac pulled up to Knight's right side. The shooter, seated at the back seat of the Cadillac, rolled down the window and rapidly fired gunshots from a .40 Smith & Wesson Glock 22 at Shakur's BMW. Shakur was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, once in the thigh. One of the bullets went into Shakur's right lung, and Knight was also hit in the head by fragmentation. Despite Knight's injuries, the vehicle, having a flat tire, was able to drive Shakur and himself a mile from the site to Las Vegas Boulevard and Harmon Avenue. They were then pulled over by Bike Patrol, who alerted paramedics through the radio. After arriving on the scene, the police and paramedics took Knight and Shakur to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. They were pulled over just a short distance from the MGM Grand, where their evening had begun. Apparently, Rahimi, a Death Row music video director who visited Shakur at the hospital, later reported that he received news from Death Row marketing employee that the shooter had called the record label and threatened Shakur. All that was really known was that a white Cadillac was apparently the car and the assailants traveled in, but you're not really going to believe how this really lines up with Keefe D. In September 1996, people became suspecting that the man that got into a fight with Tupac at the MGM Grand had something to do with this incident. However, Las Vegas homicide detective Lieutenant Larry Spinoza told the media, at this point, Orlando Anderson is not a suspect in the shooting of Tupac Shakur. Eventually, in the investigation, Anderson was named as a suspect with his uncle. Stories circulated on the street that Anderson was even bragging about the shooting, which he denied in an interview for Vibe magazine later. Anderson was detained in Compton a month after the shooting with 21 other gang members as a gang sting. However, he was not charged. The raid was only tangentially connected to the Tupac shooting, as Compton police said they were investigating a local shooting and not one in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas police discounted Anderson as a suspect, according to Las Vegas Times article, because the fight in which Tupac was involved in assaulting Anderson had happened just hours before the shooting. They failed to follow up with a member of Shakur's entourage who witnessed the shooting and told Vegas police he could identify one or more of the assailants. The witness, rapper Yaki Gaddafi, was killed 2 months later, and they also failed to follow up on the lead from a witness who spotted a white Cadillac similar to the car which the fatal shots were fired from in the shooter's escape. In October 2011, former LAPD detective Greg Kading, former investigator in the murder of Biggie Smalls, released a book alleging that Sean Diddy Combs commissioned Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, to kill Tupac Shakur, as well as Suge Knight for $1 million. Davis and Kading basically claimed that Anderson was present in the vehicle and pulled up next to the BMW in which Tupac was shot. In a recorded conversation with Kading, Keefe D claimed that Anderson fired the shots and killed Tupac. On July 2nd, 2018, this is actually when Keefe D, aka Davis, confessed to having a role in the killing of Tupac for the first time in over 25 years. He went on to say he was a passenger in the white Cadillac on the night of the incident. He refused to rename the other suspects in the car, but confirmed that the shooter was Orlando Anderson, his nephew, and that it was out of retaliation for getting jumped at the MGM Grand earlier, and there was a $1 million bounty put on by P. Diddy, which is one of the craziest, most underlooked details in this whole thing, along with the fact that the shooter, Orlando Anderson's favorite rapper, was apparently Tupac. Like I was saying, I feel that the craziest instance in this whole incident is the fact that P. Diddy had apparently a major involvement in this whole situation. The whole dude who's getting indicted for this, who's actually has evidence that traces him to this whole incident, is basically telling the story that P. Diddy was offering $1 million and like someone else took it and they basically lost it, but he basically paid for this whole hit to go down. And apparently the Las Vegas PD were saying that they didn't just run into Tupac by chance, but this was a whole fabricated plan where they went and actually looked for him on the Las Vegas Strip and just came across him and basically hit him up where they stood, man. It's honestly crazy that the PD is basically taking the time now 30 years later to actually arrest Keefe D, because it's been mad long. I don't know why they didn't do it previously and why they just never really searched about it, but I guess this really does make their department look terrible. But I guess if they're able to solve the whole case, it will make them look a lot better, because this is one of the most unsolved, and it doesn't even make sense that it's unsolved when we basically know everyone that has something to do with it. But it's just crazy that everyone else that was involved in this incident is basically dead. Orlando Anderson ended up dying a couple months later in a gang shooting in Compton, California at a car wash. The other people within the car were basically dead also over time, and the only person left is a cancer survivor, so he might be the last person that had something to do with this. So the police are definitely going to question him. They raided his house and they found bullets, but the one thing about all this is it would be crazy if he spent 30 years and didn't hide any of the evidence and kept it, man. That would be sad, but you know, people are probably buying that type of shit on eBay, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think of this whole situation, man. Do you think it was Keefe D? Do you think it was Orlando Anderson? Or do you think he's just trying to profit off of this, man? Let me know. Real safe, say shit. You already know what's going on. Like, comment, subscribe, man. Peace.